Spider-Man 3 is a movie that I'm reviewing, I guess. I'm joking a little bit here. Man, where do we even begin with this one? I'm doing all the Spider-Man movies, of course, because the new one's coming out. But I was kind of half dreading getting to this one, half not, because I remember it being better than it was. And man, I was wrong. It's not that I ever really thought Spider-Man 3 was good, but I definitely thought it was better than the haters made it out to be. And rewatching it again, it both is and it isn't. This is such a confusing movie to talk about because the movie has so much that works about it, but it has so much that doesn't. It's kind of like the new He-Man movie to me, where like I liked a shit ton of things about that movie, but overall, I don't even know if I really call that movie good. It's kind of how I feel about this movie, but this movie, I guess, has the excuse that some of it wasn't the movie's fault. Right? Because everybody, let's just get the obvious. Venom's terrible in this movie. Venom was a very weird addition into this movie. Sony did it, force them in because they could sell more toys and stuff. And, Sam Raimi didn't like Venom, so you could feel that energy. Thing was, though, Venom was a weird addition into this movie because the kind of tone of this franchise, up until the point, like the Tobey Maguire era Spider-Man movies, felt like it was more of like a 60s like comic book tone silliness. So when you kind of watch this part of the franchise, Venom's in here, and like, I guess it's hard to imagine now for some people, but Venom was not a creation of the original Spider-Man's Rogues Gallery. Like, he was one that came in like the late 80s, 90s era. Black Suit Spider-Man was a thing for a long time, and Venom kind of came into that later. And so kind of, when you're doing all these characters and all these, this sense of humor to it, feels like almost like you can imagine that this version of New York is set in the 60s, right? I mean, it isn't. It's still set in a more fluid time period, but it seems like more like 60s-esque Spider-Man comic book tonally, right? So it just kind of feels like Venom's a weird addition, especially the way they do him in here. Like, what are we doing? That doesn't work. But but Sandman works really great. I don't like that how they throw him into the Uncle Ben backstory, because now Uncle Ben's backstory about how he got killed is so convoluted, because in the second movie we got more details revealing it was Peter's fault, but now it seems like almost they kind of took away some of the responsibility for Peter in this movie, and that felt a little bit weird. And then it's like, oh wait, so like the killer ran past him, stole Ben's car, but gave Flint the gun, so he wasn't really it's like, why is everybody connected to this one old man's death? It seems a little like ridiculous. Sandman has a great scene where he becomes a Sandman. I'm buying into his emotional arc and stuff. I still don't really think he should have been in this movie. The trilogy had done such a great job at setting up Harry to be the next Green Goblin and go down this dark path. And if this movie had chosen to go that darker direction with that, and maybe if we wanted to do the black suit Spider-Man thing, maybe we could have the black suit show up in this movie, and maybe Peter kills his friend, and maybe the movie ends on a dark note, setting up a Spider-Man 4, something like that. There's, you could imagine ways that this movie works. I really hate Gwen Stacy's inclusion in this movie, because there's not really any good reason for it other than just to be there. And I don't think Bryce Dallas Howard works as Gwen Stacy. That's just me. She just was not very good and it's not her fault. Like, she just doesn't fit for this role, and I don't think she works in the movie at all. Like, this movie has so many plot lines in this movie. It's really bizarre. The one complaint I never understand is, like, Peter's dance is dumb. Yeah, it's meant to be dumb. Like, everybody in the movie kind of acknowledges. When Peter's doing the like the little dance like this, if you look at the extras in the background, they're looking at them like, what the fuck? Like, clearly it's meant to be ridiculous and cheesy, which is like the tone of these movies. So if you like have a problem with that, I think you just have a problem with the movie. Maybe you could argue that it goes a little bit too far, but I feel like not acknowledging that it's supposed to be cringy, because when you're just saying, oh, it's cringy, yeah, that's the fucking point. Like, I don't know what to tell you. There's so many great scenes in this movie and individual moments. The score is still really great. Some of the emotional beats work, but once you get to that climax and there's like, oh, we gotta save Mary Jane, and he's fighting Sandman, and then he defeats Venom. Venom dies in a weird way. Like, I didn't like, what the fuck. Okay, and then you got the like I think Venom's death was like one of the worst villain deaths in this trilogy, because um his death felt like there needed to be more to it. Like, maybe some of the symbiote got left in the explosion, and that piece of the symbiote was like a reminder that that darkness that Peter brought out by using the symbiote wasn't just the symbiote, it was inside him, and it's up to him to keep it contained, right? Felt like there needed to be something like that to make that work. Sandman's whatever is like, okay, I guess. You know, Harry dying felt like maybe we need more emotion to that, but all right. But again, it's like all these things going on, and that's the biggest problem with this movie, is all the things going on. And you can blame some of that on the studio interference, of course, but like, how much of the movie is studio interference, right? Because I trust that Sam Raimi didn't fully get to make the movie he wanted to make, but there's also a part of me that goes, yeah, maybe you didn't get to make the movie that you fully wanted to make, but there's also little things of like, did they force you to put Gwen Stacy in this movie, or was that a choice? Did they force you to do the, we're gonna add Sandman into the Uncle Ben backstory, make it this overcomplicated thing? You know, we need to acknowledge that, yeah, we can cry studio interference, but sometimes it is just on the creatives and some of their decision making, and maybe it doesn't work. So it's hard to know. I'm not saying, not saying Sam Raimi, anything bad about Sam Raimi. I love Sam Raimi, you know what I'm saying? But like, I'm always confused when people say the studio interference thing, because I'm like, yeah, we know that about Venom, but I don't know about the rest of the problems with the movie. If Venom was gone from the movie still would not be great. It would be significantly better, because we probably just have the two main plot lines, and that's fine. I don't know. It's a whole thing. You know, to me, this kind of reminded me of Batman Forever, or like Batman Returns. Not like tonally, but just kind of that feel of like, those movies would take two like villains, and they would kind of make it feel overly complicated and convoluted. And I felt like, well, maybe we could just have one villain and made this work. But yeah, I mean, definitely killed this franchise for a while. Though the movie, though, as much as people dog on Spider-Man 3 being bad and people not liking it, this was still the highest grossing Spider-Man movie when it came out. And so, like, they were still ready to do a Spider-Man 4, but it just felt like, oh, the interest was gone, the actors were aging, it was time to move on, so they just decided to reboot. But like, I think it's kind of funny that nobody actually acknowledges that fact. Like, people are like, oh, this killed the Tobey Maguire trilogy. I'm like, it didn't actually kill it. It was just the fact that the actors were getting too old for this, and that, it was just the right time to reboot. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know fans want a Spider-Man 4, and I know people want to do it, but let's not kid ourselves. We do not need a Spider-Man 4. This is done. Tobey Maguire had his era. We good. And even if they made a Spider-Man 4, I cannot tell you that movie would be as good as if they'd made it back in the day. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know. And even by the time this movie was made, you can tell that they were relying more on like CGI than practical effects, like in the other movies. I mean, don't get me wrong, both the other movies had CGI, but there's more practical effects mixed in with that. And so, like, there's a lot of things that showed that how movies were being made were moving beyond past the Tobey Maguire era, and that if they'd gone on to do more, it probably would have just not been as good. And so, like, just enjoy the two good movies we got, and the one kind of mess of movie we got with the great scenes that it has within it. You know, when I sat down to record this video, I did not expect this video to be like 10 minutes long, but you know what? I guess it just says a lot about the kind of movie this is, because, like, yikes. Let me know your thoughts. Like, share, and subscribe.